Do you know how much a quarter of a 60 is? If you have 60 apples in total and you use a quarter of them to make apple cakes, how many apples would you use? We know that a quarter of one whole apple means one piece out of 4 equal parts of this apple. What if we had to find the quarter of a bunch of apples? What's a quarter of 60? 60 is the number of minutes in an hour. So when we say a quarter of an hour, how many minutes are we referring to? Just as we cut the apple into 4 equal parts, we can cut the hour into 4 equal sections. How many minutes is each section? If you know the answer, share it with me in the comment section of this video. 1/4 of 60 might be easy, especially because it reminds us of time. What if I asked you to tell me 2/6 of 42? Would this be more challenging? What does 2/6 mean? In this math episode of Madrasati, you will learn a fast way to know the answer. Stay tuned.
Fractions are all around us. We use them every day. In the market, school, or bus, they're useful in every way. The teacher turns back a grade. 8 correct answers with no aid. Only 2 silly mistakes, I confess. What's my score? Can you guess? 8/10, a fraction nonetheless. Fractions are all around us. We use them every day. In the market, school, or bus, they're useful in every way. Empty fridge, nothing to eat anymore. Dad and I go to the grocery store. We get 3/4 of watermelon and some pickles in half a gallon. We get 1/4 kilo of potatoes and 1/5 of all the tomatoes. We get half a liter of milk and juice for us to drink. Fractions are all around us. We use them every day. In the market, school, or bus, they're useful in every way.
That was a fun song. Christy picked 12 apples and gave 1/4 of them to her mom to make an apple pie. How many apples did she give her mom? What is 1/4 of 12? 1/4 is 1 out of 4 equal parts in one whole apple, or 1 out of 4 equal groups of a bunch of apples. So let's divide those apples into 4 groups. They are 12 apples. We're dividing them into 4 groups. Let's see how many apples we will place in each group. So there will be 3 apples in each group. And 1 out of the 4 is 3 apples. So Christy's mom used 3 apples for her pie. In the evening, 9 apples were left. Christy made apple juice for her friends using 2/3 of them. How many apples did she use? If we divide the 9 apples into 3 groups, how many apples would 2 groups contain? 2 out of 3 of the 9 apples. So we've divided the 9 apples, and Christy used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 apples to make fresh fruit juice. 2/3 of 9 equals 6. We use fractions when we tell the time. At the beginning of this episode, I asked you about 1/4 of an hour. How many minutes are there in half an hour? How many minutes are there in 1/3 of an hour? 1/4 and 3/4. How many minutes does each of these fractions represent? Let's count in 5s. Remember that each small dash on a clock represents 5 minutes. To know how much half an hour is, we need to split the clock into 2 equal parts, and 1 out of the 2 would be half. That would be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes. We also know that 60 divided by 2 equals 30. There are 30 minutes in each of those 2 sides of the clock. If someone tells you they need 1/3 of an hour to arrive at your house, how many minutes would that be? Let's split the clock into 3 equal parts. How many minutes would each part be? 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. We divide the 60 minutes into 3 parts. 60 divided by 3 equals to 20, and 20 times 1 equals to 20 minutes. What about a quarter of an hour? We must divide 60 by 4, then multiply by 1. Instead of dividing 60 by 4, we can divide 40 by 4 and 20 by 4, then add the answers, since 40 plus 20 make a 60. Do you remember this division method? 40 divided by 4 equals 10, and 20 divided by 4 is 5. A quarter of an hour is 15 minutes. How much is 3/4 of an hour? How much are 3 parts out of the 4? I divide 60 minutes by 4, then multiply by 3 this time. 60 divided by 4 is 15, and 15 times 3 is 45 minutes. Let's use fractions to tell the time. What's the time? There are 2 hands on a clock. The short one is the hour hand, and the longer one is the minute hand. The hour hand on all these clocks is pointing towards number 1. What time does the first clock tell? The minute hand is pointing towards 3, which means 3 sets of 5 minutes, meaning 15 minutes. It's 1:15. A quarter of an hour has passed after 1 o'clock. We can either say 1:15 or a quarter past 1. The second clock says 1:30. The minute hand is pointing towards 6. So how much of an hour passed after 1 o'clock? Half an hour. So what's the time? It's 1:30. The last clock shows 1:45. 45 minutes passed after 1 o'clock. So it will be 2 o'clock very soon. How much of an hour is left for it to be 2? 15 minutes, or a quarter of an hour. So what's the time? 1:45. There are 2 ways to tell the time using the terms quarter and half, which refer to fractions of an hour. 1:15 or a quarter past 1. 1:30 or 1/2 1. 1:45 or a quarter to 2. There are 24 books in the classroom library. 3/8 of them are children's stories. How many books are children's stories? We need to divide 24 into 8 groups, then count the number of books in 3 of the 8 groups. We divide by 8, then multiply by 3. 24 divided by 8 is 3. So I have 3 in each group. Then multiply 3 by 3, it's 9. 9 books are children's stories. Easy? 40 passengers rode the bus, and 5/8 were students. What was the number of students on that bus? 5/8 were students, meaning 5/8. Try to calculate this on your own. Remember, we divide, then multiply. 40 divided by 8 equals to 5, and 5 times 5 equals 25. 5/8 of 40 is 25. 25 students were on that bus. Here is a challenge for you. Are you ready? 36 burgers were sold at the Burger House on Monday. 2/6 of them were cheeseburgers, and 3/6 were hamburgers. The rest were chicken burgers. How many chicken burgers were sold? First, we need to know the number of cheeseburgers and hamburgers. 2/6 of the 36 burgers are cheese. Let's calculate. 36 divided by 6 is 6, and 6 times 2 equals to 12 cheeseburgers. Now, what's 3/6 of 36? 36 divided by 6 equals to 6, and 6 times 3 is 18 hamburgers. So, how many chicken burgers were sold? Do we add or subtract? Well, we need to do both. We add the number of cheeseburgers and hamburgers, then we subtract this from the total, which is 36, to see what's left, because what is left is the amount of chicken burger. So 36 minus 12 plus 18. 12 plus 18 equals to 30. And 36 minus 30 equals to 6. They sold 6 chicken burgers, 18 hamburgers, and 12 cheeseburgers. In total, 36 burgers were sold that day. Did you find this episode beneficial? I'll see you next time with more activities and a new math lesson. Bye.
لمشاهدة المزيد من الحلقات زوروا سات7 بلس.